So hello everyone, and welcome to Mastering Music with Matthew. Today, I have a great panel. So today with me, I have Rashad Rollins, funk musician from the Hot Minute. I have Sara Olsen, all the way from London, UK. Wonderful singer-songwriter, and just a pleasure to have on the show. We have Jennifer Valaket, the woodwind player, saxophone, and flute. She's been on many times, and we're very grateful to have you again, Jennifer. And we have the founder and CEO of Bucket.com. We got a way to monetize your social media. Go to Bucket.com and you can find out more. And you can pay me for the ad when we're done. All right, just kidding. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here with me.
Yeah, man,
Thank you,
for having me.
Matthew.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Changes to the music industry, part 1. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is some unfortunate events that you guys may have heard about if you're following progressive metal music and specifically symphonic metal music. The guy on the right picture there, Marko, he has left the band Nightwish. And so I watched this Herman Lee of the band DragonForce reacting to Marko leaving Nightwish, and he also gave some very interesting information about what was presented to him and DragonForce about going back on tour. So I'm just going to summarize this really briefly here for you guys. This is the letter that he made on Facebook with his resignation, and you're welcome to check it out, in full, but I'm just going to talk about the parts where I bolded because I think that's what relates the best to this video. So he says, "Dear people, I am leaving Nightwish and my public life." I think the "and my public life" is really the most important part. Skip down a second, he says, "We have streaming company Big Guns demanding 9 to 5 work from artists of inspiration while unfairly sharing the profits." This ties into part 2 where we're going to talk about Spotify. So the biggest tour promoters are starting to squeeze percentages even from merchandise while paying dividends to the Middle East. Next down, for me to write, sing, and play, I need to find some new reasons and inspirations, my Walden, so to speak. I think all of us as musicians and artists can understand that and vibe with that. He also says down, blaming, for instance, Tuomas, the leader of the band, the composer. It's an insult to both him and my free thinking. So this is definitely not anything personal. Nothing happened to end the band. This is in response to COVID and the touring companies and the extreme demands that they have. Okay, so these tour promoting companies, for example, Live Nation. Okay, first big change. If the show cancels, you don't get paid. Second big change. If the company paid your expenses to said show that got canceled, it's now your loss. They are not going to cover those costs anymore, and they will be billed to you. The third is that the touring companies always carried insurance for the artists. That way, if some kind of technical thing happened, like, for example, a heavy light falls on you, right, you're going to get medical care because of that insurance. Now that insurance burden is being shifted to the artists. They will now have to buy their own insurance, and it's even crazier than that because they can't even price it because such a thing doesn't exist because nobody is going out on tour yet, and the insurance companies are not in a big hurry to write this because they know that the tours aren't even starting yet. And finally, I already mentioned this, the merchandise percentage to the promoter now. The merchandise was like the sacred holy grail of the artist. That was the one thing that they got, all of the profits from, and now it's being written into these contracts. You've got to share your merch too. Guys, where do you even begin? Let me know what you think about these changes to the music industry.
Crazy.
Wow.
Is there such thing as a musicians union?
Yes. We're going to talk about that.
I was wondering about that too, actually, because I thought the union was supposed to protect them from that.
There's actually a couple of them.
Okay.
Well, I think about a band like DragonForce, who is probably signed to a really traditional record label. I think it's been the way for newer bands to kind of be their own label and handling all of their own stuff and not getting into these really sticky agreements. But I really like the part where he started going on about how, what did he call them? Inspiration creators or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially trying to get artists on bands on these labels to become streamers, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which I think is a really obvious direction that a lot of media is sort of heading in. But, you know, it's tough to force an artist. It's like, I think about if I was a Twitch streamer, it's like, what am I going to do there for 12 hours? Sit and practice? Like, that what I would be doing? It's like, nobody wants to really see that. You can't really put on a crazy, like the streamers, in order to really make any money, you have to do a lot of time on these platforms. And asking someone like a DragonForce band to hop on and do totally outside of their creative process, it seems unrealistic. It seems a bit aggressive too.
Yeah.
One final note about DragonForce. He said that they will not be one of the first bands going out when the floodgates open, with notable exception of some festivals that they had already committed to pre-COVID that were far enough in the future that they have not yet been canceled. That said, he is able to sustain his family based on the social media work he's been doing, the tiny bit of money he's getting from Spotify, and people directly supporting him on Twitch and also, I believe, Patreon and some other places. So, he at the end closed with gratitude, and he's very thankful to his fans that he's not starving. He doesn't have to immediately go back out on tour.
Yeah.
Well, and it's good, but it sounds like if he gets wrapped up in a deal where the promoters or the label or whoever is getting a piece of all these other platforms, like, oh, we need 10% of your Patreon, we need 10% of your Twitch revenue, we need 10% of all of your Twitch donations. It's just like, for what? I mean, I get a show promoter getting a little bit off the top, but we all know that promoters have been the people siphoning the most money from artists for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to make money in the music industry, you became a promoter. You established relationships with venues and then found bands to fill those venues. But I don't know if that's something that's really necessary for the streaming and the online platform. So it's a interesting sort of position that we've kind of been put in there.
Mm-hmm. They're counting on people being desperate. What do you think, Jennifer?
I think it's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know how they're expecting people to support themselves, with that, especially if there's fees, like he was saying, I mean, maybe they could be a little bit more lenient with some stuff. I don't know, but
We're talking about the big guns. We're talking about the people
yeah,
who
no,
have
I know,
made it
but still,
already, right?
yeah, no,
And
I know,
so
but
the idea is that, like, a lot of people that want to make it,
right,
will agree to these terms because they're like, wow, this is my big shot. And then really the whole point of the tour company is to take these risks that
right.
they're now all outsourcing to the musicians or whatever, and it's just it's making me kind of feel sick to the stomach.
But what I mean is, like, if they're using, stuff like Patreon and the other stuff.
I don't know about that. I think that was more speculation, Rashad, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Was it?
it's just these
Yeah.
alternative revenue sources. It's only a matter of time. As soon as they start getting some of it, they're going to try and get all of it. They're saying, hey, your pot is 10 grand. Well, I want, 1,000 of that, no matter where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think even the tour companies, though, for the ones that are making it, maybe they need to consider, hey, it's COVID, we could be a little bit more lenient here, but they're not. It doesn't seem.
When I remember when Live Nation had their first COVID press release and was saying all of these things, and they're cutting out all these artists in these different ways, and I said, it's like, I get it, Live Nation, you make all of your money off of live shows, but it's like, you guys have been gouging artists for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden they were trying to apply for corporate bailouts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show, the way I kind of take it is that it's like, people expect artists and people in the music industry to be a little bit more empathetic because this is a very emotional process. But at the top, you have these companies that are still just looking out at their bottom line, and
Right.
this doesn't feel like any other exception to that.
Agreed. Yeah.
What do you think, Sarah? Let's hear your London perspective.
I think everything is changing. Like nobody knows how to react to pandemics, and now people are trying to take a profit out of everything because obviously everybody's lacking the resources to everything, and they are trying to take money out of things that they didn't before, and trying to kind of shift some stuff to the backs of the artist, which we didn't really have to deal with those things before. Kind of feels like nobody really knows what they're doing, but they just want to like stalk money out of the source, So whatever you
Yeah.
are doing, and I don't care if you're well or not. Just if you're not being profitable anymore, if you're not agreeing to the changes, bye.
Exactly.
I think it's just a shock doctrine, across the board. All the big companies are, they're having. I'm not saying that the tour companies aren't suffering because all their shows got canceled. Like
Yeah.
all their bread and butter is gone. So like they're trying to adapt, and I'm not trying to demonize them. I'm just as a musician that aspired to make it to the level of Herman Lee, maybe possibly someday, hopefully. I want to be able to go on tour and not have to worry about a light falling on my head without having to
Yeah.
pay for additional insurance. Like it's just insane. Like this kind of stuff.
Right.
What do you think, Eric?
Well, I'm interested in the idea of exploring what you guys know about. Is this a call to action to really? I think they're counting on musicians to be not proactive and not sort of like try to find a way to really unionize in an effective way.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think this, if there's an action here, because I feel like there always has to be something to do, then this is maybe a call to action to maybe really strengthen some sort of plan to unionize, or what are the unions like for musicians?
American Federation of Musicians. That one is just United States and Canada. There's other ones there's another one that's more global that we'll be talking about, like I said, in part 2. So just in conclusion, I want to get any wrap up thoughts about this, because I mean, like none of us are to this level yet, so it does not
Right.
directly affect us yet. But in part 2 and part 3, we're going to talk about stuff that is directly affecting us at the level that we are at right now. So anybody else want to give any final thoughts about this part 1?
Yeah, I see it as kind of like, for me anyways, it's just going to lean harder into that self-sufficiency, essentially building your own small business, handling your own money, handling your own booking, and leaning into that even more. And, you heard about guys back in the day, like way back in the day, Chuck Berry, Miles Davis, really, really tight and stingy with their money. And for good reason, because even since the 60s and 70s, these executives, or whatever the company may be, or however, they'll take as much as they can get, give them a little centimeter and they want the whole,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I think it's going to require musicians it's just to add another skill set to their bag of tools. We're already the creators, we're already the arrangers, the composers, the mixers, the masters, the booking agent, and now we have to be accountants and money people even more so if we want to have any
So
on that.
crazy. So crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connections become even more crucial.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to actually pay someone to do that now because of the lack of work. So
It's just so funny to think that, like, as an independent artist, everybody is like expects us to do everything. You know what I'm saying? So when you are working for yourself and doing everything, you're just doing everything. And back when I was younger, I had this dream that I would be in a label, so they would do stuff and I could focus on the creative side of things. I think most people that I know that are artists, they actually had the same goal before, and now everybody is like, I'm gonna work for myself, because the contracts with labels and everything, they're just not worthing that much. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it feels like the labels are trying to shift everything into the back of the artists, and so what's the point? I don't know if I'm making sense, but
Money,
No, you are.
power.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on this panel for part 1. So we're going to
Thank
get ready
you.
and move to part 2, where we're going to talk a little bit about Spotify and how it is affecting musicians and some changes to the Spotify music platform. So thank you, everybody, for being here on this channel with me. We got links to everybody down in the description, so make sure you check everybody out on Facebook, Instagram, whatever links they sent me, YouTube. Subscribe to their channels. Make sure you subscribe to Matthew's Music Lesson Studio. Like this video, please share, and I'll see you guys next time on Mastering Music with Matthew.